we'd like to call you back to the board meeting for September 28th. We had a workshop earlier and closed session in which employee matters and negotiations were discussed. At this point in time, I'd like to ask Mrs. Hill to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. And this is really hard, but we'd sadly like to ask for a moment of silence in honor of Carrie McQueston, a teacher from McGaw, a young woman who had 2 small children also on campus at McGaw who lost her battle to cancer in the past week. So we'd like a moment of silence for Carrie and her family. Thank you. And we wish her family all the best. And please, we pray they know that our hearts are with them and we are here for them in any way we can support them, as well as the McGaw community. Now we would like to move on to a summary of our executive workshop. And we would like Dr. Pover to express that for us.
Thank you, Madam President, esteemed members of the board. Tonight, we had, earlier at our board workshop, our legal counsel talk to us about the requirements that the census requires any district or municipality that has elected officials by a trustee area or by a district area. The election code requires them to take a look at the census data every 10 years and re-look at their trustee boundaries to see if any changes need to be made. And so we just outlined the process for that. The census data was delayed this year, and so the state of California was just released towards the end of August. The state of California releases that data about a month after that. We have until, everything has to be wrapped up by March 1st, but we will take a look with our demographer. We hope to be able to get the data within the next month, certainly by the end of October. If the trustee, if the demographics within the district from the census data, all of our trustee areas are still within 10%, you do not have to do anything. You certainly could, should the board want to. If it's greater than 10%, we would engage in the process in a smaller process than we did last time, where the demographer would draft a few different maps. We would have a public hearing and discussions, and all of that would have to be finalized by March 1st. So really no action. It was really just educating the community and all of you, the process that we're compelled to under the law every 10 years when there's a census data is released.
Thank you. And we certainly hope we don't have to make any changes. For any of us that recall, we went through over 30 community meetings. You did a great job, 11 different renditions of the maps. And so let's hope it all holds. Thank you so much. And now we're moving on to reports and recognitions, and we're going to begin with the President's report. And I joyfully get to do a report on Peace Week. Peace Week. Peace Week has been an annual celebration on our campuses for nearly 2 decades. It is special to me because as teachers at McCullough, my sister, Mrs. Barnett, and I were the advisors of Peace Company, the offshoot of Griffins with a Mission, and we're honored to work with our students and staff to build this week at its inception. I'm thrilled to see it going full force and better than ever. Peace Week is intended to start the school year off in a positive way for everyone on campus by celebrating and appreciating our diversity while encouraging acts of compassion, grace, and kindness, not only towards others, but towards ourselves as well. Although plans are shared collaboratively, each campus puts its own personal touches on the week by creating activities that involve and engage their school family. My report tonight's a little bit longer than usual because when asked to share about Peace Week on their campuses, every principal and every administrator was overjoyed to share a whole lot with us. Here are some activities from our elementary campuses. Magnificent Mindset Monday. Be you because you are amazing. The week begins with discussions about what the purpose of Peace Week is. Students are encouraged to consider how to embrace challenges as they explore the differences between growth mindset and fixed mindset. With a growth mindset, students discuss how nothing is fixed. With perseverance and hard work, each one of us has the capacity to meet every challenge. Each one of us has the capacity to change, improve, and grow. Fixed mindset causes us to believe possibilities are limited by our own lack of faith in what we can do. So obviously working to develop a real sense of growth mindset in our children can only mean that they will become more empowered to be brave and courageous and look to the future with a lot of belief in themselves. Talk to someone new Tuesday. Students are encouraged to be brave and talk to someone new, help someone in need, and lend a hand. Go out of your way to make someone's day. Based on the golden rules, students remind themselves to treat others as they wish to be treated. How to recognize and stand up to bullying is part of encouraging a mindset that together we can bring about positive growth in ourselves and our communities. Students talk about the differences between being an upstander as opposed to a bystander and are given tools for how to take on the role of an upstander when witnessing a fellow student being bullied. Powerful Sparks of Kindness Thursday speaks for itself. Students discuss their own responsibility for their actions and the power in spreading kindness to others. It's always wonderful to bring motivational speakers to share their personal stories with our children. Mr. Poppin is top of the list. This incredibly engaging man shares his path from a spinal cord injury that left him a quadriplegic through his journey to becoming a Paralympian with triumphs in 2 of the Paralympics. Mr. Poppin draws upon his own experiences to talk with our students about facing adversity, persevering through challenges, and loving each other along the way. We send our thank you to Mr. Poppin for making such an impactful difference in the lives of our children. Peace Week activities. Throughout Peace Week at the middle school, students were engaged in learning experiences that were also lots of fun. From creating friendship bracelets to sending kindness grams to peers and staff to receiving kindness bookmarks, students shared the spirit of the week with one another. Lunch activities encouraged collaboration, teamwork, and inclusion. Random acts of kindness were rewarded with a raffle. To continue the spirit of unity, there was a lunchtime kickoff for campus clubs that promoted community and inclusion. Peace Week activities at the high school. At the high school, every day called for different dress to promote campus unity. Monday was Western dress as students booted out bad vibes and sent peacegrams to one another. Tuesday was tie-dye promoting inner peace. At lunch, deep breathing techniques were taught. I could use a few of those. Wednesday was PJ Day, with students having the opportunity to take a break from the stress of the day by learning yoga. Mime Day on Thursday encouraged students to post a pledge to the peace wall. On Friday, students wore red as they got ready to dance. Lunchtime activities included hula hoop contests as the week ended with encouragement for everyone to join in the fun. On behalf of the Board of Education and Cabinet, we want to thank all the incredibly dedicated and giving teachers and staff for making this week and every week about our students. Over the past year, each one of you has been asked to give of yourselves under nearly impossible circumstances, and you did it. Juggling your professional life with your home life while attempting to stay safe was a Herculean task. We are so proud, awed, and honored by your courage and determination. Peace Week is a shining example of how, in the midst of trying to do your jobs under the most adverse circumstances, you have returned with a spirit to do even more, to give to the students beyond the classrooms, and to open your hearts to their social, emotional well-being. Coming back to a full day of teaching and addressing learning concerns as an outcome of last year's restrictions would have been more than enough for you to face. However, teachers, we want to thank you for being willing to do so much more. McAuliffe and Oak have kicked off the year with a combined total of more than 60 clubs that are only possible because teachers are willing to add one more thing to their very meaning responsibilities every day. We thank you, teachers and staff across every campus, for your selflessness. You are our heroes. And next, I would like... Thank you. Thank you. And now I would like to move on to our very special report from our student board representative, Will.
All righty. Totally forgot about that, my bad. We're good to go. Good evening, President Davidson, esteemed board members, Dr. Pulver, executive cabinet, and community members watching in person or on the line. Hello once again. My name is Will Brandenberger, and I want to thank you all for tuning in to my third student board report. Without further ado, let's get into what's been going on at Los Al. While there's no doubt that Griffins are hard at work with all their classes and tests, I unfortunately don't have much to report on this slide for this week. What I do have is a quick reminder for those taking AP classes. The final day to register for this year's AP exams is October 26th, so make sure to do that ASAP as to not incur a late fee. Keep up the great work, Griffins, and let's finish this semester strong. I know the big question on everybody's mind is how was the first back-to-school dance in 2 years? And simply put, it was fantastic. Besides the blurriness of my photos, the night consisted of lots of dancing, free ice cream, and plain old fun. This was technically the first back-to-school dance for freshmen and sophomores, as they unfortunately missed their first dances due to COVID, but every grade level brought their dance moves nonetheless. And for those of you with a very keen eye, you might be able to see a wild student board member laying down some pretty funky beats in this slide. Besides dancing through life last Friday, seniors at Los Al are in the midst of college apps. The counseling team got together in the gym and went over the basics and intricacies of the college application process with this year's Senior Summit. Students sacrificed their late start Wednesdays for this informational meeting, but don't worry, as everyone who attended got free Chick-fil-A, which I personally see as a great trade. And no surprise here, folks, but once again, the Griffins are on a hot streak. Girls volleyball destroyed Corona Del Mar last week in a quick 3 sets, and also won against Laguna once again in 3 sets. In other news, after our bye this week, football is excited to start league play on Thursday when the Griffins face Corona Del Mar at Westminster High School. The football program is looking forward to the second half of their season, and everyone is excited to see this monstrous season play out. Last week I shed some light on the upcoming choir show, but the dates were not announced yet. Well, I do have some good news, as the shows are on October 7th, 8th, and 9th, with the first 2 performances at 7 p.m. and the last night being at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. I know I'm not the only one looking forward to get back to listening to some Broadway show tunes in the PAC once again, but hurry now because tickets will sell out before this annual performance. And now for my personal favorite section, Teacher Time. This week I have another 2-for-1 special with the amazingly funny Mr. and Mrs. Hart. Both of the Harts teach at Los Al, with Mrs. Hart specializing in English and Mr. Hart teaching world history and macroeconomics. The Harts have found their home at Los Al as their home, not only because they live here, but because Mr. Hart is a Los Al alumni. When I interviewed him this past week, Mr. Hart boasted that he actually holds the record for most career wins in football at Los Al, with 43 wins and only 1 loss. I would definitely fact check this information though. Outside of work, the two love to adventure with their family, but Mrs. Hart believes that the more we accept that life is work, the happier we are. They both loved hip hop and reggae music, and Mr. Hart especially loves some indie rock. And this may seem like a little bit of a curveball, but if the Harts could be a type of fruit, Mr. Hart would be a pomegranate, while Mrs. Hart would either be an avocado or banana due to their nutritional value, but distinctly told me she would not be a tomato because of the debate if it's a fruit or vegetable. Within the walls of their humor lies 2 of the best teachers Los Al has. After 17 years here, the Harts have changed students' lives and have become a part of the community because they are the community. And I know everyone was probably waiting for this section, but for this week's Student Spotlight, we have Riley Yu. For those of you who do not know Riley, you're in for a real treat. Riley is a junior at Los Al and is currently enrolled in 5 AP classes and is a member of Advanced Dance. Inside of school, Riley loves her Calculus BC class, but loves to dance even more. She dances at Impact Dance Center outside of school, and when she does have some free time, she's either reading, hanging out with friends, or listening to some music. What I believe makes Riley so special is her summer camp program she started herself, Cosmetic Chemistry for Kids. When Riley was young, she found a love for cosmetic products through YouTube videos, and other resources. She especially loved how these bloggers would take household objects and create something new with just mixing or heating them. When she took her first chemistry course at LaSalle, she realized how close the world of cosmetics is to that of chemistry. By connecting the two, she found that it was actually a great way to engage young children to the advanced science that confuses many, including myself. Her camp ran for 4 weeks, and she worked with around 430 individuals. Some of her favorite experiments were making bath bombs and explaining how acid-base reactions work, or explaining how lotion works with polar and non-polar molecules. From parents to teachers alike, it's easy to see the impact that Riley has made on the youth of our generation. I am so excited to see what the future holds for not only Riley, but the whole of chemistry for kids. Hats off to you, Riley, and keep up the great work. And that's all for this report, folks. Thank you for listening, and for those of you at home, thanks for watching. Have a great night.
Will, we need you to stay there for a second.
I get the pleasure to represent the board and tell you we think you're a fabulous senior of the week, and we love the job you do, so you get the highest award.
Yes! Thank you so much. Thank you.
We love our student rep reports, and Will does a fabulous job every time. Congratulations, Will.
Thank you.
And now we would like Dr. Culver to give a superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam President, esteemed members of the board, our illustrious community. Yes, Will was named the Senior of the Week, and of course he was not going to advertise himself, but we were going to oblige for that. So, and then Mr. Davidson, I just want to thank you for starting off the board meeting with the moment of silence. Just, Ms. McQuiston, as we were doing the moment of silence, I just couldn't get out of my mind the beautiful family picture that was sent to me on behalf of her family. I know the McGaw community, all of us here are really torn up about such, sometimes we wonder, for a lot of us people who are of faith, how could that be possible for a young mother to lose her life and so our hearts and prayers just continue to go out to the McQuiston family, along with all of those individuals that love and adore her. It was really interesting and neat to see many of the students at McGaw. I think one of the days after she had passed happened to be part of the Peace Week, something I believe Hero Day or something. And to see so many pictures of kids wearing a T-shirt that said Miss McQuiston was my hero is really heartwarming and touching. So we definitely miss her, and I know the McGaw staff and community does as well. With that, I will try to move on to happier and more joyful news. We had the esteemed pleasure last week of being informed by the Federal Department of Education. They issue one of the highest awards to schools that can be issued, what's called a National Blue Ribbon School. And so I'll share a little bit about the National Blue Ribbon Award program that is bestowed to schools across the nation, public, private, and charter schools. The Blue Ribbon program is really a national program that recognizes public and private elementary and middle and high schools across the nation for students who either achieve very high learning standards or they're making notable improvements in closing the achievement gap. And since 1982, the U.S. Department of Education has sought out and celebrated great American schools. 8 of our schools are Blue Ribbon schools in the past. This coveted National Blue Ribbon School Award affirms the hard work of students, of educators, and of families, and really communities in creating safe and welcoming schools where students master challenging and engaging content. The National Blue Ribbon School flag gracing an entry or flying overhead is widely recognized as a symbol of exemplary teaching and learning. I would add it's usually also recognized as a place of exemplary staff, because obviously that would not be possible without exceptional teachers and administrators and support staff. There are 2 categories that the Department of Education recognizes in 2 performance categories: exemplary high-performing schools, and in that category, in order to be deemed in that category, you are among the highest performing schools as measured by both state and or nationally normed test assessments, as well as the other categories: exemplary achievement gap, closing the achievement gap. And those are among the best schools at closing achievement gaps between student groups and different ethnicities or different data points amongst ethnicity groups, et cetera. So this year, just last week, the Department of Education honored 325 schools. California, you can see kind of the breakdown of where the awards came about. California and Texas has some, and we're also obviously one of the most populated states as well, had the most awards. So across the 325 schools, 28 of them have been recognized in the state of California. That's a significant number. And yet I'm going to drill it down even further for us. Of the 28 schools in California, right here in Orange County, 7 schools have been recognized as these exemplary high performing or closing the achievement gap. In fact, Orange County represents 25% of the state's blue ribbon schools. And so you might say, well, there's 7, but you only notice there's 6 school districts there. You'll see it's Los Al, Orange Unified had a school recognized, Newport Mesa, Saddleback, Centralia, and Fountain Valley. And really a remarkable achievement for those schools as well. And yet there's 6 districts and 7 schools. Why is that? Los Alamitos Unified is the only district in Orange County that had 2 schools recognized. So Los Alamitos Elementary School, this is their 2nd time that they've received the National Blue Ribbon School Award. They received it for closing the achievement gap. And then Richard Henry Lee, we affectionately just call it Lee Elementary School. This is their 2nd time as well receiving the National Blue Ribbon School. They earned it in the category of exemplary high-performing school. I drilled down within the data even further and took a look at all 28 schools in the state of California who were receiving this. There was no other district, I repeat, there was no other district that had 2 schools recognized, 1 in each category other than Los Alamitos. So congratulations to LAE and Lee for this exemplary award. And so the Secretary of Education, really his quote as this was rolling out said that in the face of unprecedented circumstances, that these schools have found creative ways to engage, care for, protect, and teach our children. Blue ribbon schools have so much to offer and can serve as a model for other schools and communities. And so it got me to think about, because as I've shared, many of our schools are blue ribbon, and sometimes it comes up with when the cycle comes up. But when I was thinking about our schools, what is it about Los Al schools that really could serve as a model for other communities, and then why we continue to do exceptional work, to be exemplary, high performing, and at the same time closing the achievement gap? And so I thought it really is, at least some of the reflection that I've had, it's this continuous laser focus on students and a focus on results. That one of the things we as a district continue to prioritize is best first instruction with highly skilled teachers. And all of these things were tenets that were within the application that LAE and Lee wrote. We have our systematized intensive reading labs at our elementary schools. We have before and after school targeted interventions for reading and math. I don't know of another district that has a 5-year professional development plan for all new teachers to Los Alamitos. We provide mentor coaching and collaboration that continues to be among teachers. We have our district instructional practices, signature instructional practices, positive in school climates, STEM and makerspace labs, not only at our elementary schools, but at our middle and our high school, really with an engineering design framework embedded within it. And I think it would not be lost if we didn't really talk about, I think one of the strengths that makes us a model for other communities is really the longevity of our employees. We have our employees at our school sites who just serve and do this work and perfect their craft ongoing. They have a focus of continuous improvement. We talked a little bit about this growth mindset and the additional social and emotional supports. But honestly, we could not be a model for other communities in terms of the results that we have if we did not also have these powerful partnerships with our families, with our PTA, with our friends of groups, and the community. So the Blue Ribbon recognition is really a recognition not only for our teachers at LAE and Lee, but for our parents, for our students, for our families, and this community. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pulver. It's very exciting, wonderful news. We're proud of those two schools. Now we are moving on to public comments. The board welcomes input from the public. This is the opportunity for community members to provide public comment to the board on agenda items or items not listed on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the board should complete a speaker request card. Each speaker is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. Public comment is limited to a total of 30 minutes. A speaker may not relinquish his or her time to another speaker. When addressing the board, speakers are requested to address the board from the podium, state their name, and adhere to time limits. The board may not take any action or discuss any item not appearing on the posted agenda and cannot immediately respond to public comments. Speakers are cautioned that under California law, no person is immune from liability for making intentionally false or defamatory comments regarding any persons simply because those comments are made at a public meeting. And I'd like to add that at the last meeting was really excited and proud of the crowd. People have strong emotions about what's going on right now. And the last meeting, I think, was the very most constructive meeting we've had with public comment, in that everyone was respectful towards one another and everyone was allowed to speak their minds. We have children that will be speaking this evening, and so we are modeling the democratic process to them as they participate in it, and we're deeply proud of them for showing up and taking and to share their views. So we will begin with those things, but we have over 30 comments, and that cannot be done for 3 minutes in pardon? Oh, it's more than 30 now. The cards just keep on coming. More than 30 comments, which doesn't fit in a 30-minute time frame at 3 minutes of speech. So I would suggest we do what we've done before and expand the 30 minutes to allow everyone to speak, but limit the speaking to 2 minutes. How does the board feel about that?
Also move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, the motion carries 5-0. Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't take a vote. I'm just doing it. This is a dictatorship. No, sorry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. I will be reading the speaker followed by 2 names because we have some people in another room who need to have time to get over here. So our first speaker is Zio Van Borgenden. Forgive me if I mispronounce your name. Secondly, Kyla Farrell. And thirdly, Lola Farrell. So if Zio would come forward, please.
And then I'll just add, to help the speaker, there's a green light that'll show when the 2 minutes begins. The yellow light means you have 1 minute left.
Must be in another room. Okay, there, so that's. Zio Van Borgen, I'm sorry, get it in front of me here. Sorry, Zio Van Borgenden. Okay, should we have the next speaker? We'll wait. Is Kyla Farrell in the room? So I imagine Lola Farrell is in the other room too. Emmy Chen. Guess we need rapid transit. I think I should wait a little bit. Wait. Okay. You can do what I tell my students, talk amongst yourselves. Thank you. So we have Theo, then Kyla Farrell, Lola Farrell, Emmy Chen, then Will Villa, and Emily Hogan Boom. So, okay. Thank you. You have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kyla Farrell, and I'm a 9th grade student. I'm here today in response to an article and website I was shown last night pertaining to some teachers, and especially pertaining to Google slide presentation for Pride Month. My experience at Oak Middle School was nothing less than amazing. The best teachers, the best administrators, and the best community. Middle school is a difficult time where students begin to question who they are and what they stand for and who they want to be. Oak staff gave us the space to figure those things out, and with that, my friends and I became and are becoming the people that are standing before you and the people who will continue to shape our community. I want to specifically address the slides that are referenced in the article. These slides were created last school year and are not new material. In a move to educate the middle school student body, GSA created informational slides for Pride Month, which were then shared throughout the entire school, not specific teachers' rooms. These slides were created in a similar fashion to the MSWB Club's slides for Black History Month. They were designed to educate and to help, and in no way had a hidden agenda. LGBTQ inclusion is something widely implemented in schools across America. It's important that members of our community feel accepted and respected, and childish claims and action like these do not reflect that. Please do not move forward with the recall. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Lola Farrell or Zio Morganston or Emma Chen? Will Villa? Okay, here we go. Yeah, I've got them. Those are being done.
Hi, this is Emmy Chen. Just want to be clear because we couldn't hear in the back. So, good evening, President Marlis Davidson, Superintendent Andrew Pulver, and esteemed board members. I'm currently a freshman at Los Alamitos High School and attended Oak Middle School last year. Recently, the Los Al Recall website was shared with me. When I read it, I cried. I cannot believe the lies shared on this website about our Los Al teachers. I had Mr. Maya as my 7th grade teacher and as my Science Olympiad coach. I started Science Olympiad in 7th grade. In my first competition, I placed 43rd out of 45. Last year, I competed and placed 2nd. Because of Mr. Maya, I took an anatomy and physiology class on Coursera for fun this past summer. When I grow up, I want to be a pediatrician, despite the fact that my mom would like me to be a mathematician. My love of science and teaching me to believe in myself comes from him. Please listen to the students. We know our teachers best. We know the ones that teach us to fall in love with the content and those that help us find the best in ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Emmy. Zio, Lola Farrell, Will Villa, Emily Hogenboom.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Will Villa, and I am a freshman at Los Alamitos High School. I've come to speak on an article that I was shown throughout the weekend and then also as well as on Monday by my mom and my friends. It truly saddened me to see all of the lies and the slander posted about a teacher that I really truly feel that he does not deserve it. He was one of the first people to start using my preferred name when I told him. He has never stuttered on it once, and he has always made me feel extremely comfortable at the school. I also believe it is within our right to have created those slides and to have shared them with our school, as stated by the California Department of Education, where it requires local educational agencies to support lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning LGBTQ+ students, and provide safe learning environments that protect the health and safety of LGBTQ+ students, as well as teaching students about gender, gender expression, gender identity, and explore the harm of negative gender stereotypes. This is taken directly from their website, cde.ca.gov. We have violated no bills nor rights, no bills nor laws by sharing these slides and trying to help people feel comfortable at school, a place where it is supposed to be their support system. And for some, it's their only support system. Having accepting staff, such as Mr. Maya, is important, so everybody can feel welcome and safe at the school. That's why I'm begging you and I'm asking you from the bottom of my heart, please stop the recall. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Zio Van Borgenden, Will Villa, Emily Hogenboom, Alice Clary, Sydney Clary, so kind of get along, and Sarah Rodabush. Any?
Good evening, Superintendent Pulver, President Davidson, and members of the board. My name is Sarah Rodabush. I attended Oak Middle School and am currently a freshman at Los Al. Last night, I read the Los Al Recall website for the first time and knew immediately that I would come here today and talk about Mr. Maya. I worked closely with him all 3 years of middle school as a part of Science Olympiad. He helped me to grow, not only as a scientist, but as a person, which is why, when I read the Los Al Recall website, I was appalled at the lies being told about him. He is an amazing teacher, mentor, and human being who had no right to be accused of child predation and grooming solely due to his teachings of acceptance and compassion. I know Mr. Maya, and he is a kind and understanding person, not a sexual predator. So please stop the recall. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Will Villa, Emily Hogenboom, or Alice Clary, Sydney Clary. Anyone?
I'm going to get this right this time. Good evening, Madam President, esteemed members of the board, and Dr. Pulver. My name is Emily Hogenboom, and I am an Oak parent, finally. It has come to our attention that a few disgruntled members of the Los Alamitos community are going to try to recall 3 members of our school board. This is the same school board who had our backs when we wanted our kids to go back to school last September. Remember? Los Al was the first public school district in Orange County to reopen for in-person instruction. The elementary schools had virtual instruction for only 1 week, thanks to our school board. This point is not very popular with the recall folks. Another thing they have forgotten to mention is the cost of the recall election to the school district. And not 1 recall election, but 3. It could easily cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's roughly the money raised from the Step It Up fundraisers in all 6 elementary schools and the 2 middle schools. You know the district won't be able to afford school music and art programs, extra enrichment classes, or special field trips. The cost of covering these extras will fall to the PTA or school foundations, which means all of us. Not only will we lose these extra opportunities that enrich our children's education, but we'll be tasked as parents to pay for them through the PTA or the school's foundations. So say goodbye to 5th grade promotion activities, special events, STEM programs, intervention teachers, library books, to name a few. This board has done right by us. It's time for us to do right by them. Don't sign the recall petitions. Support our school board. Thank you.
Thank you. Will Villa, Alice Clary, Sydney Clary. Oh, good.
Hello, my name is Alice, and I attend Oak Middle School. Mr. Maya is one of my favorite teachers, and I've heard he is being treated unfairly by some parents because of a pronoun survey. I think that's wrong. Mr. Maya was just trying to be more inclusive of different students, and therefore he does not deserve this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, everyone. My name is Sydney, or Sid. I'm in my first year at middle school at Oak, aka I'm in 6th grade. Personally, I and many others don't feel the need to stop wearing masks. I myself will forget to take my mask off when I get home. I don't know why some adults would complain this much. You wearing your mask saves lives. I don't want some kids' grandparents passing away before their time comes. The elderly and medically fragile could easily die if they caught COVID-19. Life is precious. A 17-year-old boy whose name I don't think I should mention, because I don't know if his family would like that, had sadly passed away in the past couple of years. He'd been diagnosed with a terminal illness. He was asked what life advice he would give before he died on a YouTube interview. He said, live. He simply said to live. We take things as simple as, simply existing for granted. Life is precious. Don't risk you and your child's life over simply not wanting to wear a mask. People aren't as lucky. There are so many little things you take for granted and won't realize how much they mean until they're gone, like human lives. Thank you for listening and your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Will Villa, Emma Osborne, Catherine Schumacher, Lynn Burton Jenkins.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Schumacher. I had Mr. Maya as my 7th grade teacher last year. Currently, I'm in 8th. So far in my middle school experience, Mr. Maya has been the most kind, inclusive, and respectful teacher on campus. Never did he force anyone to be someone who they aren't. Without Mr. Maya, people as well as me wouldn't be the people they are today. Even in 8th grade, when I see Mr. Maya around campus, I feel so welcomed. He made everyone in his classroom feel like he made everyone feel like his classroom is a home away from home. At GSA Club, he makes the entire room feel like everyone matters and everyone is equal. As a teacher, this is his job. His job is not only to teach students, but to make the students feel safe. many students feel like they have to make students feel like they have a place where they can be themselves, no matter who they look like, what they look like, or who they love. Mr. Maya has taught us more than just science, but he has taught us to be ourselves, not to care what others think. So some parents may try and put him down, but us as his students will always be there for him. When I heard what was going on, I knew exactly what needed to be done. Mr. Maya is a teacher Oak needs, a person everyone should look up to and cherish. I'm so glad to be able to stand up for the person who was there for me and made me feel like myself. Oak is your home, Mr. Maya. Don't let the negative bring you down and keep being the role model you are. Please do not sign the recall.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I would like to thank the board for exercising compassion and fairness in this matter related to Mr. Maya of Oak Middle School. My name is Emma Osborne, and I am currently a freshman at Los Alamitos High School and previously attended Oak. As a teacher, Mr. Maya was known for his inclusive ways and helpful actions towards everyone on the campus. Though I never had him as a teacher, the time he contributed to the students of Science Olympiad showed his goodwill. Every person I know who has had him felt valued and respected in his classroom. In no way whatsoever did we feel threatened or offended by his actions. He never showed any inappropriate or even vaguely questionable conduct towards anyone. Rather, he was always kind, supportive, and encouraging to every student, parent, and fellow teacher. These allegations against such a good person are not only wrong, they are reprehensible. The criticism of his appearance and behavior are shallow and completely negate the point of his efforts to make his classroom a safe and engaging place for students to grow in mind and in spirit. He deserves the same amount of respect and care that he has given each and every one of his students. As this continues, I once again thank the board, Mrs. Kaminsky, and the Law Cell community for supporting Mr. Maya and stopping the recall.
Thank you. Thank you. I have Lynn Burt Jenkins, Kathy Nadeau, Steve Miller, Mark Celestin, and Janine Ball. So. Steve.
Good evening. I was really hoping not to have to follow the students just because I love to listen to them. But I echo what they say, and I think like going back to what Dr. Pulver was talking about as far as the two schools that got recognition, I think part of what makes this district amazing is that not only the administration and the teachers, but the parent involvement too. And I'd like to invite you guys to come to McGaw and to show up on the second Tuesday of the month and watch Project Seek have a meeting of 40 people who are collaborating to raise $150,000 so we can have art, innovation lab, media center, and we can pay for those teachers. Show up, this Thursday or the following Thursday and watch our PTA meeting as we get ready to put on an amazing carnival that everybody's going to enjoy, so we can pay for things like field trips, grade level reading books. All this other nonsense is like it's taking away energy from where from where it needs to be. We're not focusing on kids, we're focusing on all this stuff. And I've been coming to these board meetings and I talk a lot, and I know that. And there's a lot of personalities here, and I'm one of those. I agree with that. But I really think that we need to get back on track and realize like what's important here. I've emailed you guys and I've talked about like my daughter and like her passion and what she says, and it makes so much sense. And listening to these kids, it all makes sense again too, right? Like they put things in a simple format, and it's what it is. It's like they're the ones that have the first-hand experience, and we need to listen to them. And I think we should just get back to what makes Los Alamitos the great district that it is. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Lynn Burton Jenkins, Kathy Nadeau.
Hello, unaccustomed as I am to public speaking. I have found this to be fairly interesting because I'm extremely deaf, so it means it's been very, very difficult for me to follow. But I've had a few thoughts because the students were talking about recalling a teacher, and I gather it's because the teacher is gay. Seriously? This is what you want to recall him for? When my son, who, if he were alive, would now be 55, was in school, and I was going to open school night. He wanted to kind of warn me about a teacher. He said, Mom, I forget what he said, but he was telling me that there was just something odd about this teacher that other people, he didn't, that other people found odd. And I went to the class, heard the teacher speaking. Obviously, the man was gay. And so I said to him afterward, I said, Eric, is he a good teacher? He said, oh yeah, he's very good. I said, do you trust the things he tells you? Yes. I said, then go for it. There's nothing wrong with this man. And I would say the same thing today if he were still alive.
Thank you. Thank you. Mark Celestin.
Hello, I'm Mark Celestin, and I too am in awe of the students. They are amazing. I'm fortunate to have worked in this district for 39 years. I still work in this district. I've taught for 37 years AP US and World History, department chair for 15 years. My wife was a Lee Leopard 50 years ago, went to Oak and Los Al, and my boys have done the same. So I come from it as a teacher, as a coach, and as a parent. I've known many of you for 20 years, and I appreciate everything this school has done. To teach at Los Al, anywhere in Los Al, is teaching, it's a stupid analogy, but at Disneyland. It is amazing. It's not perfect, but it evolves, it moves forward, it sees its weaknesses, and it goes from there. And trying to be inclusive for kids is kind of one of the biggest things you can do. Until a child feels valued, they are not going to engage. The better job we can do of valuing every child, which is difficult. We all come from different generations. They come from different perspectives. But being involved in Griffins with a Mission, being involved in things like that makes a difference in kids' lives. When a freshman goes to a freshman retreat and you hear how socialized they are at 9 years old with a whole variety of views, but they can have these discussions, that's something we have fostered. My eldest son went to Stanford. My youngest son went to ASU, and both of them, and I've coached thousands of athletes, they come back and say, Los Al does a fantastic job, in no way perfect, but a fantastic job of getting kids ready for their future. Everyone needs to be valued here. I leave you with just the idea of we have to continue to be progressive, we have to be inclusive, we have to be enlightened. We cannot be regressive. We can't push fear, reaction, and events or actions that don't make kids feel like they want to engage in our programs, because Los Al offers so much to so many in so many different ways. My good friend Dr. Cross, probably the best teacher ever here, said, you gotta fight the good fight, so please keep fighting the good fight.
Thank you. Thank you. Janine Ball. And then Melanie Askell, Amy Lonsbury.
I'm Janine
Denise
Ball.
Miller.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Janine.
I'm Janine Ball. I taught in the district at the high school for 22 years. And what you just saw, what you just heard is why this district is great. It's an extraordinary place to teach. It's an extraordinary place to go to school. There's a reason why the people in this community play a huge premium for their homes, their housing, is to get their kids into this district. It's a reason why people like myself brought their son into this district, is because it fosters greatness. And to think that you have to have a recall of these amazing people who are our leaders, who stand up for you and those kids, takes some audacity to you to think that you're going to have a recall to take that away from them. This is a great district. It's proven nationally, it's proven locally, it's proven regionally. Do not support this recall. Support everybody who's sitting right here. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you, Janine. Melanie Askell, Amy Lonsbury, Denise Miller, and I believe it's Cinza Farrell. It's a little hard to read. Okay, let's see. Amy Lonsbury.
pull up my notes. Thank you so much for listening to all of us tonight. One moment, sorry. So thank you for supporting a more inclusive environment in this district. As an Oak kid back in the day, I'll never forget the teachers who actually made us feel seen. I'm a Mr. Schlatter alumni, and if you're old enough, yeah. Yes. He was truly our favorite teacher at Oak. Everybody wanted to take his class. So for this generation, I want to call out Mr. Maya for doing what Mr. Schlatter did for us, which is making every kid feel seen. Every kid that I know that is at Oak and takes this class just adores the guy. They feel seen. Kids want to be in his class. If they can't get in his class, they're sad. More Mr. Mayas is part of my point. Sadly, there seem to be recent cases of defamation against him and some other teachers in an attempt to offer reasons for false outrage by a small group of parents. I want to state clearly that this community is watching and will not tolerate our teachers enduring defamation while simply doing their jobs, abiding by state laws of inclusion and pedagogy. Thank you to this board for vastly improving the environment for our children and for embracing science in the midst of what I can't even imagine, but must have been the most challenging year for any board, for any supervisor, for any superintendent, maybe in history. So thank you.
Thank you. Melanie Axel, it's hard to read. Denise Miller. Go ahead, Denise. I think this is.
Thank you. My name is Denise Miller. I'm here tonight to say to you, the Board of Education trustees, thank you for getting our students back in the classroom. You were among the only district to do so in 2020. Thank you for following the California Department of Health guidelines by requiring masks for staff and students to keep them safe, healthy, and inside the classrooms. Thank you for listening to the students and their parents for having introduced an elective ethnic studies course at our high school. The professional findings that I have read support the academic and emotional benefits to students who choose to enroll in an ethnic studies course. Thank you for doing the hard work of running for and being elected to our school board. It is a noble calling, and I thank you for giving your time and talents to this district. We may not always agree, but I do thank you for listening to our community and taking time to sit on the board. During these first few days of fall, while the Taste for Los Al is being readied, where each school site is looking at its budget for the new year, I say to those watching this meeting online, this election will cost our Los Al district tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars directly from the district budget. No ifs, ands, or buts. Our school district is responsible for the costs of the recall election. Do not sign your name to anything associated with this election. If you do not support one or more of the Board of Ed members, vote them out in the next scheduled election. Back to the board. Please know that more of us support what you've done for the students these past 18 months than oppose your action. We have your backs, and we will oppose any recall efforts with everything we've got. We are here for you. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's Chase Farrell. Dale Clark.
Thank you. I'm Dale Clark, a resident of Rossmore. There was a wonderful article in Sunday's LA Times, and the title was Revenge Recalls Hit the Schools. And I, rather than writing my own statement, am going to just state and quote, recalls are important and powerful tools of democracy that should be invoked only in cases of extraordinarily wrongdoings. The trend this year rises the concerns that relatively small and angry segments of parents will make it a habit to launch recalls whenever they don't like a board's decision. Could 2022 become another year at an attempt at recalls, this time over the adoption of ethnic studies curricula, which opponents continue to mischaracterize? How well we know that. No controversial decision will make everyone happy, but recalls weren't meant to be an outlet for the losing side to start chopping off heads. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Josh Spiller, Nina Baton. I'm sorry, Batonete.
All right. I'm Josh Spiller, resident of Rossmore. 264. Anyone know the significance of that number? It's the maximum amount of days from the time signatures can start being collected to when a recall election must occur. Now, following a timeline, if the notices are being served here tonight, sorry to spoil the surprise, we'll see the attempt at signature collection start around early December. Then, if by some miracle enough signatures are collected, the election will be held at the very latest in August of 2022. Why does that matter, you ask? Somebody in the back asked, I heard him. It means this coup attempt will require a special election. Yikes. Those have been known to cost upwards of $1 million. Ballots sent to every constituent, guards to block the weirdos from calling it fraudulent and interfering, as well as election mailers, notices, etc. Guess who will pay for this special election? The school board. Guess where this money comes from? Their budget. Guess who a loss of budget hurts the most? The children. No, not the communists. Please try and follow along. One-track mind. Where was I? 7.8%. Know what that puny percentage is? Oh, I think everyone does. It's the success rate for these silly local recall attempts and last-ditch efforts by those who always come in second place in elections. All of this time wasted, energy wasted, money wasted at the expense of our own children's education for what accounts as a complete shot in the dark. It's both irresponsible and deplorable. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Nina, I apologize if I butchered your name.
Good evening, esteemed President, members of the board, and Dr. Pulver. My name is Nina Patante. In our community, hostility, false information, intimidation should have no place in the educational process. The current fear tactics, campaign of misinformation in regards to social justice and ethnic studies and teachers, along with divisive language and rhetoric of fear, goes beyond what the students, the board, teachers, parents should have to deal with. As a lost-out parent with at least one child enrolled from 2005 through to now, I am proud that our district educators have been given the tools to educate our children. In regards to the recall, due to indoctrination of our children, which is what they say is happening at our schools, parents may disagree with content, but in the end, the school must look at current information, best practice, and what it means to educate every child. Every child should feel that they have a place and a voice in their community. Those that are leading the recall want to take our students backwards. With test rankings of 10 out of 10, putting Los Al in the top 5% of public schools, I believe the district is doing their job to educate our children. Los Alamitos School District should pride itself for following CDC and California guidelines in support of student learning on campus. As a parent, I am proud of my high schooler who has no issue with wearing a mask. In doing so, my son knows that he is potentially protecting peers, educators, and community members from COVID. Keep kids out of ICU and pediatric units. Keep wearing a mask. Use science. Science supports until the science supports not wearing a mask. Show our kids that facts and science matter. I thank all of you for your work and dedication to our students and forging ahead on this path through past and current controversy. Thank you.
Thank you. Leland J. Leland J., followed by Reverend Melinda Dodge. Sorry.
Good evening, board members. My name is Leland J. I'd actually like to address all of those watching from home who may be tuning in to see what all this recall talk is all about, and to speak to those who may actually be receptive to the idea of recalling our school board. I'm hoping to appeal to your sense of community. I believe our community is our greatest strength. I mean, if you look at Irvine, it's a great school district, much bigger, of course. In my view, pockets of different ethnic groups that don't really interact as much. We're much smaller, more closely knit, in my view. Our community is the reason I chose to raise my kids here. Over the past couple years, I've come to realize I'm a lot less certain about a lot of things. However, I'm fairly certain that if we were to recall our school board, it would divide our community like I have never seen. I remember when the Target shopping center was approved in Seal Beach. And you may remember there were families in College Park East, some were in favor and some were against the development. And neighbors, friends for decades, for a while stopped talking to each other. I believe a recall of our school board would make that look like a walk in the park. And I don't want to see that. If you're mad or frustrated about certain things, I totally understand. There was a guy on this very same school board for many years who the people on the left could not stand, and they complained about him all the time, and he did and said a lot of things they didn't like. Nobody threatened to tear down the entire school board because of it. We do have an election next year. So I'm just asking you, all there in YouTube land, please, if you can, please, before you sign this recall petition or sign their paper, whatever they're going to do, please ask yourself this first. Is it worth it? If you love this place as I do, we have a shared appreciation for all that is good about living here. Is it worth doing this to our community? And my sincere hope is that your answer is no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, good evening, board. Good evening, community. I'm the Reverend Melinda Dodge, and I'm proud mama of 2 in our school district, and I serve 3 churches, many of whom live in this district and have children in this district and are alums, and I want to commend the stellar work of this board in keeping our children safe during this ongoing pandemic, and our staff, and I want to affirm the incredibly high academic quality instruction that my children have experienced. And I stand before us tonight because this work that is before us is complex and difficult. We are in an ever more pressing, stressful, and stressed environment. And despite this, blessedly, I see an increasingly aware community, aware of one another, with all of our idiosyncrasies and all of our beautiful diversity. However, I'm here to say that our community's increasing awareness of our diversity must be undergirded by the hard work of understanding and embracing our human similarities and our human differences. And in my language, I would say they are God-given. And this simply must be a priority in schools throughout our district. And I also see this needed work has begun, and I'm grateful for it. I'm so thankful for this board's thoughtful work in creating the Human Relations Collaborative and in listening and responding to the student-articulated need for an ethnic studies high school elective. This recall's mission is deeply upsetting and deeply misguided, and honestly, it's a blatant, abhorrent personal attack on the board and some beloved and effective LAUSD teaching staff. So I would implore our LAUSD community
and this board to keep guiding us ever forward in prioritizing our students, their academic progress and prowess, and encouraging their love of learning. Please keep supporting staff and students, all staff and all students. Thank you.
Joel Block, Catherine Ye, Harami L. I'm getting only first names now.
Thanks. My name is Joel Block. Thanks to the board for the opportunity to speak. You wonder why a 73-year-old recent stroke victim is here today. I'm here because it's that important. It's that important to show up for the schools, for the kids, for the teachers, and for the board. It's that important for democracy, for the future of this community. It's that important. This is not an accident that this talk of recall is happening. If you look at the numbers in Ballotopedia, close to 3 times the number of school district recalls are going on in this year alone than occurred last year. This is not an accident. There's a top-down effort to attack the public schools in the United States, and one vehicle is recalls. It's because of the progress that is being made toward justice in the public school system. Yes, schools are getting more liberal in their philosophies and their welcoming of diverse communities. But the best schools have always been more liberal. Look at Stanford, look at UC, look at Harvard, look where I went, the University of Michigan. The best schools are liberal. That's the direction. It's always been that way. Academics, they're always far-seeing. They always see the future. Let's look to the future and oppose the recall. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you. Catherine Ye.
Hello, President Marlis Davidson, Superintendent Pulver, and our esteemed board members. I'm here, like many of the students and the community members, just to thank you. I thank you for being compliant to our state requirements. Like many of the families in our community, we were shocked to see the recall website. And I know that you know many of this information, but I'm gonna read some of the state compliance out loud to understand that what you are doing are not radical, but it's in compliance to our state requirements. First of all, the COVID-19 guidelines. Los Alamitos District COVID-19 guidelines. Our policies follow the California Department of Public Health guidance for K-12 schools for safe, successful, and in-person instruction. I thank you. My children were both at home last year, and now they're back at school. They are so happy. I see it's night and day. They are so joyful because being with other children and other teachers and with their peers matter. So thank you for following these policies so that our children, our teachers, and our community members, and our elders in our community can be safe. 2, I want to make sure that we're clear around the Ethnic Studies High School elective. It is an elective. That means it is an optional course that our students can choose to take in addition to others. It is available for our high school juniors and seniors, and it came about not as a request of one person or your actions by you alone. It came about because in spring 2020, Los Al students organized 3 peaceful protests asking for the district to address the discrimination that occurred at school and demanding a more justified, more diversified curriculum. Thank you for listening. In addition to that, Ethnic Studies is supported by the California State PTA, our national PTA, our California Federation of Teachers, our California Teachers Association. So we just thank you.
Thank you. Harami, there is no last name listed. Harami. Okay, Sonia. Oh, I'm sorry.
Did they call me? My name's Kathleen Nadeau. Did you call me?
Yes, we did earlier.
May I speak now? I'll try to be quick. I just wanted to show my support for the teachers and the school board, and I want to mirror what the students earlier said. Stop the recall. It's not necessary. And what in my heart I wanted to share was that I feel like sometimes people are afraid, but you shouldn't be afraid. Our teachers are very well trained, and they know how to teach about different histories and diversity in age-appropriate ways, in ways that touch students' hearts and want them to become more compassionate and loving human beings. They are our future. They are our future. And they can build a more compassionate and loving society. They want to hear histories that are true. Our classrooms are diverse. I mean, this may sound simplistic, but they want to hear stories about how our Chinese brothers built the railroads. They want to hear stories how the Filipino Americans and the Japanese Americans worked on the plantations in Hawaii and came into California and worked across the country in the farmlands with our Mexican and Central American and South American brothers and sisters. They want to hear the wisdoms of the indigenous communities and the natives to this place. It has nothing to do with white bashing. Sometimes I worry that people are worried, but it has nothing. There was a book I used a long time ago called America is in the Heart, written by Carlos Bulosan. He loves this country. He was here in the early 1900s. And one thing that I really took away from that book was the white woman who took the effort to teach him how to read and write, right? And he went on and wrote beautiful books that really are touching. So I wanted to say we need not be afraid and support our teachers.
Thank you. Sonia. Susan Q, CUI. I'll hold the cards in case they come from the other room. Claire Chu.
Good evening, everyone. It's finally, on the other side's turn, and it's kind of like, feel so happy to have the chance to speak here. Okay, so it's not the reason that we recall is someone makes some mistake or something wrong. No, just don't think like that way. And we just want compare with someone else and find a better, candidate. That's it. And don't feel bad, don't feel sad. And we just want to build up the better school district and community. What my most concern is being parent, we need or demand the best possible education for our children. Due to liberal ideological trend has been sweeping our nation since 1960s. Morality is declining. Schools are no longer a clean, peaceful place, and the liberals are pushing their homosexual culture everywhere. And I just want to remind everyone of you sit here, and if you don't show or if you don't talk, at home to your own kids and your grandchildren for some particular topic, and related to those homosexual, culture, and those things should also be banned at schools. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you. Sonia, and then Susan Q, CUI, and Dr. Tang.
My name is Soan Kui. Thank you very much for the opportunity I can talk to here. I think we all want our kids to grow healthy, safe, being good a person. So I think the school needs to teach our kids traditional value and be respectful, be supportive each other, not hate each other. What we see in the school, there was a lot of replay, like what we had experienced back in China. Indoctrinate kids and label the kids with different colors, class, and the kids will hate each other. So that's why we want to make sure the school board and the teachers teach the kids the traditional values. And I think that this whole recall is just assure that we want to school go back to the normal and will get our kids understand and how to grow up in a healthy way and is able to help each other, support each other, and everybody leading a better life. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Susan Q, CUI, Dr. Tang, George Lee. Violet Moran.
My name is Violet Moran, and I'm a 7th grader at Oak Middle School. I have Mr. Maya for science this year. Even though I've only had him for a month, I know he would never force anything, especially being gay or transgender, on anyone. He has a poster in his classroom that says this is a safe and inclusive space for anyone in the LGBTQ+ community and their allies. There is no part of that says it's only okay to be gay. He gave us a sheet at the beginning of the year to fill out, and 2 of the questions were our pronouns and our preferred name. A preferred name is just in case one of us would like to go by a nickname or a different name, and pronouns are simply what you would like people to refer to you as. The preferred name has nothing to do with convincing someone to be transgender and change their name, and the pronouns don't have anything to do with convincing the person to be gay. This made a lot of people feel safe at school and be happy to come and have a safe place where they are accepted. It's disappointing that people are accusing him of something most of us know he would never do. Mr. Maya is part of the reason why I'm so open about being who I am, because he's shown it's okay to be who you are. He is the most respectful, kind, and inclusive teacher I have, and no matter what he goes through, he still is positive with his students. Please stop the recall.
Thank you. Thank you. So, once again, I have Susan Q, Dr. Tang, and George Lee. No? Okay.
Hi, good evening. My name is George Lee. honorable board members and parents, students here. I'm a parent of 2 kids, and I want to talk about this issue from a perspective of an immigrant from communist China. 22 years ago, I brought my family here illegally to pursue my American dream, to pursue my freedom and liberty. And I just don't want my kids to live in under those tyrannical communist country. So that's why I'm here. I came here. I thought America is a country that we all enjoy freedom. We don't indoctrinate the kids with hate, right? We teach them how to respect each other, how to love each other. But sadly, I see that there's a agenda, liberal agenda called a CRT, is coming to our classroom in the disguise of ethnic study. We already know that ethnic study is based on CRT, which is pretty much communist, revolution agenda, or I call it a CRT, Communist Revolution Agenda. It is basis. We have experienced that in China. In Cultural Revolutionary Revolution, we divided people into these 2 classes, oppressor and oppressed, and turn people against each other. It is a great disaster for all the Chinese people living through this disaster. Now we're seeing this is coming.
Thank you. Susan Chu, Dr. Chang, Robert Aguilar.
Tina, if I can hand these to you. Hi, good evening. My name is Robert Aguilar. I am a parent in this district, resident of this district for 17 years. I'd like to also thank all those children who came in and spoke on behalf of their teacher. I would have loved to have seen the 7 or 8 students that were asked to be pulled out of that class to be here talking as well. Maybe even some of the 680 students who have left the school district because of the curriculum currently being weighed here. I'm here representing a very surprisingly large group of parents who are here to kick off a formal recall of 3 trustees on this board: Chris Forehand, Scott Fayette, and Meg Catulli. Those are right there if you mind giving them to them when you have a chance. Ms. Hill and Ms. Davidson are not being recalled because they're already up for re-election in 2022. This recall is a nonpartisan, believe it or not, parent-led action intended, see they add that time. Parent-led action intended to allow members of this community to regain control over what is being enforced on or taught to our children. A lot has happened since the last election that voters were not privy to and had not been an issue at the time of voting, but they are important and urgent issues now. This is why the Constitution allows for a recall to be possible. Parents are not willing to wait until November 2024 to vote out the entire school board. So the recall is necessary to allow changes to be made sooner for the benefit and safety of our children and their families. Now there's going to be a lot of debate, and I can see a lot of signs here, very well, good penmanship. There's going to be a lot of debates, and there's always going to be 2 different sides. But they should know, and these people should know this as well, is it doesn't make a person a homophobe if they believe that sexuality should not be discussed with their minor children. It doesn't mean a person is racist if they believe their children should be taught to be inclusive instead of ashamed of doing something.
Thank you. Okay. Stacy Muller.
Hello, everybody. I'm Stacy Muller, and it's so good to be in America where we can do this. We can disagree. We can agree. We don't have to get along. I mean, we have to get along, but we don't have to agree with each other. And there's different sides to everything. Isn't that great? We're lucky. That's what America's all about. And I got to tell you, I have no skin in the game when it comes to Mr. Maya. I don't even know who he is. I really don't. But I do think that we should set a precedence here. And I know you're not looking at me, Marlis, but we should set a precedence that we don't talk about the student or whoever is the accuser, whatever. We can talk about defending him and supporting him, but I don't want to bash whoever it is. It's not right.
We're not allowed to stop
let me
people
remind
from
you
saying
the
names.
board, the role of the school board, to ensure that school districts are responsive to the values, beliefs, and priorities of their communities. In my opinion, they're not doing their job. That's my opinion. I'm a parent in the district. I don't see a parent who has kids in the district, except for you. Except for you. I was gonna say that, thank you. And I hear this, like, I wanna take our district back. That's what I wanna do. And I think recalling is important to do that, so that people like me can run for the board. A lot of parents that are more conservative want to run for the board. I'm talking, thank you. I'd like to start first with firing Daniel Nava. I think the obsession with racism, and listen, racism is not okay, 100% not okay. But the obsession with race in general it's a fascinating issue that there's different sides to everything. I understand it's so important to talk about, but the obsession gets a little out of hand, in my opinion. We need to stop letting teachers talk about sexuality in school. That's my opinion. That's my job.
Thank you. I'm sorry, you guys, I have to clarify this. A point of clarification, it hurts our hearts when teachers' names are defamed in the press or in any other avenue or venue, but we on the board here are not allowed to comment or stop a person from using a person's name when speaking. Thank you. Kate Wilson.
Hi, my name is Kate Wilson. I went to Hopkinson as a Raider. I was at Oak as a Trojan and La Salle as a Griffin. Now I have two students in the district, an Oak Lion and a Griffin. I'm speaking to you as not only a parent and an alumni, but as a teacher in another district. And truly my intention tonight was to just come and thank you, because I'm seeing the ramifications of 18 months of no school in my district. And I feel blessed that my kids got to go to school even for half-time last year. So I thank you guys very much for that. There's a raging debate in my neighborhood about masks. And what I say is, I see 185 students a day. My 185 students see 185 other students a day. So we are exposed, your teachers are exposed to everything. And I think the masks are the least of what we can ask. I teach government, and I'm always for kids getting involved. So it was great to see all the kids here. I think the recall election is ridiculous. We just voted these people in. Give them a chance. We can vote them out when their term is up. But personally, I think the recall it's a joke. So I thank you guys very much for keeping your teachers safe, because they are working harder than anyone knows. So working on their prep times, probably covering classes, I know I am, helping kids before school, at lunch, after school. We're asking a lot of teachers, and you guys supporting them with basic safety measures is really appreciated. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Jesse S., followed by Dorothy Farrell and Emma Osborne.
Hi, my name is Dorothy Farrell, and this is only my second school board meeting ever. So I'm here. I have 2 children in the district, 4th grader at McGaw and an 8th grader at McCullough, both of which have been in the district since kindergarten. My husband and I moved to Seal Beach years ago, specifically for this school district. And I can tell you that for years, we were the happiest parents in the world. So many flagpole Tuesdays at McCullough with Ronnie Ellis that brought tears to our eyes of joy and pride of our sea lions, learning to be good citizens and learning to love and respect everybody, our military, our police, their elders. And we loved it. And I can also tell you, as I'm a very active and political person, vote every election. But I'm here to tell you, I've never once thought about who I was voting for a school board. I voted for a nameless, faceless person, and I based that vote on maybe what they did for their previous job. And it never really mattered because I thought I had my children in the best school district in the state of California. Fast forward to 2020. And right now, I am actually pretty appalled at the CRT training, indoctrination of our students. You can call it ethnic studies, you can call it whatever you want. It's the same thing, and I'm not happy. I'm not happy with the forced indoctrination of gender fluidity that's happening at the middle school right now with my daughter. She has come home almost speechless a couple of times. So with that being said, all I can tell you is this Mama Bear is here to support the recall. I will do everything I can to campaign to get the right people.
Jesse S., followed by Emma Osborne, and then Kayla Ray. Rebecca Romo. So if they come from the other room, we'll definitely let them speak. Dr. Jody, oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Greetings, Dr. Pulver and esteemed board. My name is Dr. Rebecca Romo. I am the mother of 2 in this district, and I am a clinical psychologist who has specialized in working in marginalized communities for my entire career. One of those specializations is in working with survivors of childhood sexual abuse. Let me be clear. As a specialist in this area, there are no grooming behaviors represented in the behaviors of the teachers cited on the Yes on Recall website. This assertion is false, blatantly and empirically, and maligning of 2 of our youngest, best, and brightest teachers. And it offends me to my core and for every patient I have ever represented that a teacher who is trying to be inclusive and provide a safe space for the most marginalized in our community. LoSal is not known for being LGBTQ friendly. We are working on addressing that. But to see them maligned has upset me to my core. Human psychology is such that it is hard for us when we go through times of trial. But throughout history, in times of trial, there has always been a group, often well-organized and well-funded, who seek to further divide communities in hopes of acquiring more power by pitting marginalized groups against each other and by attacking marginalized groups. Human psychology affords this because the more vulnerable we all feel, the more differences can feel dangerous, as opposed to enhancing, and this can be used for those seeking to attain power. A global pandemic is the perfect opportunity. Adaptation is hard. It can feel uncomfortable, This has been hard. These past 2 years have been hard. Unfortunately, organized groups can seize on this. Let's stand together.
Thank you.
Well, I brought my sign too. It says, "I'm walking." And you all are probably wondering what I'm talking about. But sometimes at these school board meetings, we talk about children and their education. And I wanted to thank the school board for putting Walk and Bike to School Day on the master calendar. And I promised to give an update. I did have 5 PTA presidents and Walk and Bike to School chairs who I had hoped to introduce you to. We had it choreographed, but they couldn't get in the room. So I'm going to do it here. International Walk and Bike to School Day is on Wednesday, October 6th. We hope to see you all there. Hopkinson, they've got it going on. They're going to be meeting at 7:20. Chris Forehand, District Trustee Area 2, is going to be leading the charge with Principal Evelyn Garcia. The Highway Patrol is going to be escorting them. I feel like I need that on the way out. I won't say anything. The Husky mascot's going to be there too. Los Alamitos Elementary School, we've got the Fire Authority joining. I think Mayor of Los Alamitos is joining, and they're going to be meeting at Catella and Bloomfield at 7:30 a.m. Lee, they're meeting at Kurth and Foster, 7:30. And looks like we're going to have Supervisor Foley joining too. Yeah, good. McGaw's really got it going on. They have 2 starting points, starting at 7:15, Heron Point, Seal Beach Boulevard and Pavilions parking lot along Bolsa Avenue. Several people from the school district are joining. I have to also shout out for Dr. Jerry Friedman. 2 more, Rossmore, they're going to be starting at Rossmore Park, corner of Baskerville and Kurth at 7:30. Weaver starting at 7:30 at Rush Park. Just really quickly, walking and biking to school increases independence of students and lots of other good things. And I wish I had my 3 minutes.
Thank you. Jesse S., Emma Osborne, Kayla Ray, Sarah Rodebush, I think she already spoke. She spoke. So, and Catherine Schumacher spoke. Oh, Emma did. Okay. Cynthia Stone. So any one of those, Jesse, Kayla Ray, did she already? We have double cards on some people. Cynthia Stone. Okay. Mossy Kennedy. And followed by Drew Sells.
Hello, I'm Mossy Kennedy and I teach at the high school. I'd like to express some concerns from a teacher's perspective. Specifically, I'd like to address the consequences of the haranguing of my colleague teachers by members of the public. This maligning and threatening of teachers undermines the educational process. This myopic, reckless imposition of political ideology causes harm to teaching and learning. Partisan political zealotry should not dictate our pedagogy. It harms the needed trust between families, students, and instructors. These bullying tactics need to be named in order to address their negative impact on the learning environment. I realize that there are limits and restrictions on what the board and the district can say in response. However, one possible simple response would be a strong advocacy of teacher professionalism in reply. Please make public statements supporting the good work of teachers. Acknowledge our craft and please draw attention to our extensive preparation and training to objectively present top quality lessons. Please attest to the excellent results achieved by our teachers teaching to national standards. This would assert how important it is to trust and support our teachers to provide the best experience for all of our students in the district. In doing so, the board and the district would be standing up for proper education and siding with civility and reason. Thank you.
Thank you. Drew Sells, followed by Paul Fabre.
Thank you, esteemed board. My name is Drew Sells. I'm a parent in the district of 2. I've got 2 kids actually who are joining me at high school every day because I teach biology there as well. I coach in the district, and I'm very proud to work here, and I'm very proud to work for you guys. The last time I was here, I thanked all of you for passing social justice standards and for continuing to implement a solid mask policy. I specifically thanked those of you who have been most unfairly targeted. I'm here tonight to thank you again and to ask you to stand up even more boldly to support your teachers, especially those who have also been unfairly targeted the same way you have. On the rare occasion that an inappropriate behavior happens in my classroom, I deal with it quickly and fairly. I must do so, or I risk losing the trust of the other students that they are in a safe place to learn. This entire district is your classroom, and you guys are co-teachers in it with us. It is my hope that you will each take the responsibility of calling out inappropriate behavior more quickly, so that all of us who work with you and work for you can trust that we are also in a safe place to continue educating the most important part of any school, its students. I will vote no on the recall for many reasons, the simplest of which is it's a waste of valuable resources and time, and it takes away all of those things from our students. Keeping student learning as our center is crucial, and it must guide us. Students learn best when they are acknowledged, as Mr. Maya has clearly been doing well, and made to feel comfortable, as many of us teachers worked to do. Teachers teach best in that same exact setting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Paul Fabre. So I'll go through these names again. If any of you have not had, oh, good. Thank you. Sorry.
Good evening. My name is Paul Fabre, and I'm a parent here in the district. And I didn't come prepared with any glossy speech or anything. I was just sitting in the back and hearing people speak, and I captured some notes. I'm very nervous, so bear with me, but I feel some important things to say here. I heard one speaker say that they actually read from an LA Times, it sounds like an opinion piece, about when a recall is supposed to be used, how and when. Well, I don't know what authority this opinion writer has on when a recall should be done, but I will say that a recall should be used when a board allows the sexualization of children in the classroom. The sweet girl who came up here a bit earlier, who spoke about LGBTQ+ and all the variations that keep expanding, at that age should not even have any notion of that. And the fact that that is happening at that grade and even lower is sexualizing our children in the classroom formally. And I am very opposed to that. That's when a recall should be used. A recall should be used when the board unanimously approves CRT. And I know that CRT is not a term that you, the board, use. There's always a milder term that gets used and a denial that CRT is happening. However, the bottom line is that there's teaching that skin color matters. Skin color does not matter. It shouldn't matter. A recall should be used when mask mandates are put in place that harm students' social and emotional learning. Even in special education classes, when there are students that have speech difficulties and they're being they have speech therapists that are required to wear masks. Doesn't make any sense. Recall should be used when the board approves funding and hiring of a consultant, Danielle Nava, whose website states, and I quote, uses a racial equity lens and framework in all services offered. Again, we should be blind to race. However, the board finds it appropriate to hire a consultant of this type. For all these reasons, and I'm sure there are more.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to go through and call out these names in case somehow someone got missed. These are people who we don't believe came up. Jessie S., Kayla Ray, Cynthia Stone, Chase Farrell, Melina Axel, Lynn Burton Jenkins, Will Villa, Zio Van Borgenen, Harami, Dr. Tang, Susan Q. It was a long evening. I think some people left a little early. Sorry. Yay, thank you.
Hi, sorry.
Oh,
I think my
great.
card got misplaced because I filled it out, but I didn't hear my name. But here I am. My name's Melissa Moran, and I grew up in this district. Both my parents were educators. My mom taught for 48 years kindergarten in this district, and my dad was a baseball coach in this district as well. Not with the district, but with Los Alamitos Junior Baseball. So I know firsthand what makes a great teacher, and my daughter's lucky enough to have had the most wonderful teachers throughout her career in this district so far. This year, luckily, she has the great fortune of having Mr. Maya. And a good teacher will really inspire their students personally and academically. When a teacher asks students in a confidential setting how they prefer to be addressed, that shows that he respects his students, that they're safe being themselves in that classroom, and that they have an adult who believes in them. Our district is incredibly fortunate to have teachers that understand this and a board that supports the rights of all students to be who they are with pride. This kind of respectful question does not groom students or attempt to convert them, but demonstrates to them that they are respected and that they have an ally. Also, I'm thankful that we have a board and administration that recognizes the need for our kids to have opportunities to learn about ethnic studies. I was a Chicano Latino studies lecturer at Cal State Long Beach for 10 years. Never in those 10 years, never, did I communicate the idea that all white people are racist. Rather, I taught my students about landmark court cases relating to the Chicano Latino experience, about historic events and people, about sensitivity and awareness and inclusion. Recalling this board is a farce and will cost the districts extraordinary sums of money, which could instead be diverted to our kids and their education. These kinds of recalls are not successful. In fact, majority of them fail. Our kids are protected when they are given the opportunity to feel safe, respected, and seen by adults in their lives. Our kids are protected when their education includes the freedom to be who they are. Our kids are protected when they feel the adults in their lives.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Try one more time. We don't want to miss out on anyone who was intending to speak. So is there anyone that we have missed? We thank you for coming, for the civility in the room, and for taking the time to come and express your feelings. And you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but we thank you for being here. Did you want to say anything?
Madam President, the only thing I wanted to clarify, it's okay. They're allowed to. They're allowed to vacate. One of the speakers early on spoke, they were confused, thinking that maybe individuals were trying to recall a teacher. That is not the action going on that website. The website is an effort to recall certain board members. But what that website does is really challenge the professionalism of some of our teachers, which I do not stand behind whatsoever. Some gross inaccuracies on that website saying that they called Los Al police, that they have a crime investigation against this teacher, when I have information directly from Chief Nunez that says they've been informed the parent, no crime has been committed, no report has been made, and subsequently no follow-up, and yet they continue to put on the website that this teacher is under some type of criminal investigation, which is false, which is wrong, and we should stand against that.
Thank you, Dr. Culver. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. And like I said, you're welcome to stay. We now move on to our, what? Oh, sure. We're going to take a few minutes break. If anybody wants to hang out, you still can. Thank you. The meeting resumes. We are now on to consent items. We are going to deal with 12A individually.
Madam President, it's been hard to follow, but we're on item number 11, right before the consent.
11 comes before 12. I didn't teach math.
Which into consent comment.
Thanks, you didn't leave me. Okay, I apologize. So we are going to begin with information and presentations. We have a quarterly report on Williams uniform complaints. Dr. Frazier, would you like to address that?
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, we're bringing forward the quarterly report for the Williams complaint from July 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2021, and we are excited to announce that we have no findings.
Thank you, thank you. So now we are moving on to consent items. We are going to address 12A separately. Because it's a revised approval of unofficial minutes. And do I have a motion?
I will motion that we accept the revised minutes. I did make a change to them, and that's why they're revised.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Okay. Is there any discussion?
I would just like to make a comment. Thank you to Mrs. Hill for finding that. We all read the minutes, but it's something we're kind of familiar with, and it was very good that you caught that. Thank you.
I think we should share what the revision
Yes,
was. It's a wonderful addition, Mrs.
Yes.
Hill.
Please share.
I got to remember what my revision was. The drama student. Oh, that's right. Thank you. Ms. Tina talked about that I went to the Shakespeare in the park, but it was also, what we didn't say was that we had one student that was in the production, and our amazing drama teacher and club, I don't know if it's club or just students, had a fundraiser there. So they were selling goodies and candies and alike, and so I just thought it was a wonderful mix of our community as well as our students and our schools, and so I wanted to make sure that was noted. Thank you very much, Dr. Poehler.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Now for consent items 12B through M, do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. We are now moving on to our action items. The first action item is the adoption of a resolution, and Dr. Frazier, I believe you're going to address that?
Yes, Madam President, thank you. Do you have the specific credential authorization resolution in front of you?
I probably do.
Tonight, we're going to be bringing forward the specific credential authorization for 2021-22. This is where we look at and do an audit on we audit the credentials of our employees, make sure that all of our employees are in compliance with their current teaching credentials. And so this lists anybody that's teaching outside of their credential area. We have to list that and show that in the audit.
Thank you. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there any discussion?
Go ahead.
This happens every year, and we can't just take any teacher and have them teach any subject. They have to have a certain number of upper division units, and there's other requirements. But because students, particularly at the high school and in the middle school, it changes every year what they want to learn, what they're studying, and things like that. And so every year we do this, but the teachers are highly qualified. They just may not actually have gotten their credential in that specific subject.
It's something even as simple as I'm a social studies teacher, but I'm a coach. And so I technically 6th period PE is, and so all of these are under the Ed Code authorization that allows, as long as they have their credential and meet the criteria. It just needs the boards to also support the teachers within those assignments.
Any other further comments or questions?
What they said.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
This is a roll call.
Oh, it's a roll call.
Say roll call on there.
Mr. Fayette. Aye. Ms. Catulli.
Aye.
Mrs. Davidson.
Aye.
Mrs. Hill.
Aye.
Mr. Forehand.
Aye.
The ayes carry it 5-0. Our next item is a second reading and final approval of revised Board Policy 6158 on independent studies. Dr. Frazier.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight we're bringing forward the second reading and final approval of the revised Board Policy 6158 for independent study, and there was no additional revisions.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion for approval?
So move.
Second.
Is there any discussion? So I imagine this is a roll call vote also, right?
No,
No?
just a regular one.
Okay, so I have until December to get this straight. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. 13C is approval of our warrants. The warrants are the bills that we pay every month, and we get a list of those bills from gigantic purchases for buildings to how many erasers were bought for schools. So Mrs. Galicia, your department does a fantastic job of itemizing and keeping us appraised of everything. We are able to ask questions before we vote. So I'm now looking for a motion for approval of the warrants.
I'll make motion that we approve the warrants as presented.
Second.
Any discussion?
Only 29 pages today.
Oh, it's a short one.
That's not bad.
Hopefully we didn't spend a lot then. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. Now we come to the very positive part of our evening. I think the student board report and donations always put a smile on our face. This is acceptance of donations from organizations, individuals, our PTAs, friends groups that we get every month. And as you can see, we've got Friends of Rossmore. We've got Scooter's Real Italian Ice that helped out Oak with $400. We are deeply grateful to everyone on these contributions. And so this month's donation contribution total was $7,116.88 for a total of $207,688.33 this year. And we're deeply grateful for these donations. They make a huge difference in the programs we can provide on our campuses. So thank you. Do I hear a motion for approval?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's a small comment, but deeply felt.
The motion carries 5. Did I do?
No, you didn't vote it yet.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. Now, classified personnel report and certificated personnel report, along with the administrative certificated personnel report. Dr. Frazier.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight I'm bringing forward the classified, certificated, and administrative certificated personnel report as presented. However, I would like to point out in our certificated personnel report, as you may know, that we've had quite a bit of substitute shortage. It's been statewide, district-wide, and really looking at ways that we can retain and recruit quality substitute teachers for when our teachers are out. We're proposing that we raise the daily rate to $155 and our long-term rate to $185 to compete with some of our local districts and really get quality people. So if you're out there listening and you are interested in potentially substituting, or if you have your CBEST, you've passed the CBEST exam and have your bachelor's degree, or if you want to find out how you can do those things, you can always contact us in HR and we will help you with that. Like I said, it's gone up to $155 for a daily rate and $185 for our long-term sub rate.
Thank you. Do I have a motion for approval?
Joe, Dr. Frazier, it was great to see 10 more subs on that list being hired, I think was the number. So
we've been working hard to make sure that we have enough people to fill those spots.
Yeah.
Also move.
Do we need a motion first?
I'll make the, I so moved.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? So it really echo Dr. Frazier's plea. I taught it in the district for 25 years, and let me say that our teachers work really hard to create incredible sub-plans so that when the teacher steps into the room, it's not a difficult job. You have the support of the teachers in the rooms around you. I'm excited about the increase in pay. This is, our teachers are, because of the shortage due to the pandemic, our teachers are having to cover other teachers' classes. We really, if there's a little tug in your heart to come to work here, believe me, this is a wonderful opportunity, and we will deeply appreciate your presence. So all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0. This was a short night for this part of it, I think. Not a short night. So now we move on to communication, and let's, Mr. Forehand, would you like to begin?
Sure, I'd love to begin. You already highlighted Peace Week, and I was going to say it certainly spreads compassion, acceptance, and inclusion across our district. I represented the board at SELPA, and I asked Grace for a nice list of who's funded, so when I visit schools, I get to say thank you for being here. Congrats to Lee and LAE, National Blue Ribbon Schools. I've got to visit the Griffins, the Lions, the Leos, the Tigers, and today the Huskies. And wow. I'm blown away every time. And I think today we got to see a lesson by one of our new wellness counselors, and that was great. And I know a real close kid of mine is in 4th grade at Lee, and I got to see a real example of from Maslow to, Bloom, wait till they bloom. The kids were approaching a unit test in math, and these are 4th graders, big unit test. And they talked to their teacher and said, I don't think we're ready. Can we have a little more time? And she said, absolutely. And then she also said, well, let's not do it all in one setting. Let's do part of it one day and part of it another day. So I thought that was another example of taking care of the kids' wellness as we move back. The Heroes Lunch was highlighted by our show choir as far as I was concerned. Wow, I can't wait for October 9th when I get to go watch them. Rossmore Homeowners Association is making their way through the schools in Rossmore and serving lunch and to show their appreciation for all the hard work. Speaking of serving lunch, Andrew, I thought that was so touching that you organized lunch for the McGaw staff. So thank you for doing that. And my nuts and bolts, which I like to end with, is serving spaghetti at Oak. 200 bowls of it yesterday, but more so it was the fabulous cafeteria staff. And then I got to meet 8 student helpers, and they made that whole thing. It was a well-oiled machine serving 800 kids all at once. So
was it a well-oiled or a well-sauced? It was spaghetti.
Oh, you always have the right words. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Hill?
Well, first of all, I want to thank Mr. Forehand because I am in awe and a little envious of how often he gets to be in schools with our students, and I think it's amazing, and thank you very much for that. Congratulations to our Blue Ribbon schools. It makes us so proud. And I remember my children were at Rossmore when they were up for a Blue Ribbon school, and they got it. And I do remember, just because I'm in real estate and numbers matter to me, that we were told by the consultant who had come in and the observers that they would increase property values by 5%. And I think that it's certainly been shown in our schools, and just a little practical thing there, but very excited for our kids, our staffs. Those principals just have to be glowing, and we're really proud of them. So I got the opportunity to go to the Seal Beach Working Group because Mrs. Catuli was not able to make it, and I was the backup, and they are always so warm and generous, and we just have a great relationship with them, and talked about a couple of big things that we'll be looking at. But one of the things I really appreciated is that they really encouraged us strongly to make sure that we have numbers on all of the roofs of our buildings down at McGaw. And then there are a couple of other things that we're working through with them related to recreational facilities, and just a great group of people to work with, and I do really very much appreciate them. And then did get to go to the Heroes Luncheon, and I agree with you. Show choir was amazing. They sang Proud to be an American, and it was the appropriate song to be singing in that room with those heroes. And it was a great job the way Los Alamitos recognized a hero, I believe, from the sheriff's department, the police department, our hospitals, and there was fire authority. I think there was one more. Military. Yeah, and it was just wonderful, and you could tell I was sitting in back of the gentleman who won the award for the hospital, and he had obviously a very, very taxing year, but he had 5 children. Yes. 5 children were there, and they were amazing through the whole event. And I just said, "You are a saint." So, you know, and his wife was really a saint. So that was really, that was wonderful.
And you know what I loved? I hate to interrupt, but
no problem.
Not only were they recognizing the healthcare staff, but something that we often take for granted, even here in school districts, was their director of facilities, who really, when they talked about how much of a facility they had to completely alter rooms, outside tents, et cetera,
built an
and
emergency
reconfigure.
room in a parking lot.
Yeah.
So they could do triage, and then they built an ICU in another parking area. I was blown away.
I just love how sometimes we think of Heroes in these other areas, and we forget that there's other individuals behind the scenes that are really making things happen as well. And I think that's true even here in our school district as well.
Thank you, Dr. Pulver. That was awesome. And then I want to say a little something about some of the speakers tonight, and then I'll finish with 2 happy things. So first of all, I'm going to repeat this, and I'm probably going to repeat this almost every meeting that we have. This is a nonpartisan position. This position is about taking care of our schools, our children, our community. That means that it encompasses all of them. It does not encompass one side or the other. And this board has done an amazing job of never politicizing that. And we will continue to do that and do what is right for our kids and for what is right for our whole balanced community. And so, you know, we keep getting these things that the board doesn't listen. And I think sometimes when somebody doesn't get the answer, the exact answer they want, they think you're not listening. And I can guarantee you that this board has listened to everybody who has walked through these doors. And we have tried within everything we can to create the balance that our parents and our kids want in our schools. And, you know, one of the things that kept being brought up, and it was this example of masks. And this board sat here at this dais and asked just question after question about how can we support both parts of our community, some who want and insist their kids need masks, some that our teachers need masks, some that don't. How can we balance this? How can we balance the whole child? And we ask questions and we delve into it. And it comes down to that in some ways our hands are tied. And so it comes down from the state. And in my opinion, and this is simply my opinion, not the board's, but I just want to give an example. If we had not had a mask mandate and the governor had continued to give us money to support what we had as Los Al at home, we could have had an elegant solution for everybody. But that wasn't an opportunity for us. That wasn't an opportunity for this board. So this board did what it could do to get our kids back in school and to get them in front of teachers full time. And so, you know, if people really have issues with some of those things, they should really be working at the state level, because that is what comes down from the state. So when we went into this, knowing what was going to happen, and Mrs. Davidson and I obviously were not recalled, and our colleagues were, and they are amazing people. Our pastor this past week, he talked about responding with love and not with fear, and being salt and light. And so to that, I just want to say, we support Kids First. That's what we're here for. That's what these wonderful people are here for. And I just ask that you really do your research. And so if you've got questions or concerns or problems, reach out. Also, really do your research and find the facts. Go to school, find what the primary source is, and use the primary source. So that is about what took place this evening, I'd like to say. And then two other things that are really near and dear to my heart is that, one, there is an event this coming Saturday from an organization called Pathways to Independence. And Pathways to Independence was started by a former administrator in LaSalle. We serve underserved women, and I have asked for some support, and I thank you that have done it, and I really appreciate it, and the clients really appreciate it. And if you haven't ever heard about it, look it up. It's an amazing organization. And then don't forget, October 9th is Taste for LaSalle, also something very close to my heart. And we have sold 400 tickets over where we were in 2019. So people are ready to, they are ready to come back to the Taste. So we're really excited about that. Thank you for my long-winded communication.
It was wonderful. Thank you. Mrs. Catuli? Okay, that's hard to follow. I was able to attend an Orange County School Boards Association seminar on legislation that was coming out of Sacramento, and it was at the very end of the legislation, their session, and we attended it. They had lots of information on the independent study, which we had our second reading on for our new board policy because of the changes in the law. But it was kind of like we attended this particular seminar, and then 2 days later, everything was like done. So it could have been better, but information is always good. That's what I always say, can't get too much information. We also had a California School Boards Association delegate Zoom meeting so that the board members could get together and discuss what is happening in their districts. The superintendents meet weekly. We do this maybe every 2 or 3 months, and it was really good to get together as a group and to have a discussion. We never have everybody because you can never find a time that is good for everyone, but we had quite a few people there. I also, this last weekend, was up in Sacramento because I'm on the board of directors of the California School Boards Association. I have the joy of being on the audit committee, but I can't say our finances are doing well. I just don't think you should ask questions to an auditor if you don't want to get on the audit committee. That's my word of advice. So I was chair this year, as a matter of fact. We had some very interesting discussions, but the couple of real takeaways that I took that seem to be of concern for board members statewide. One is we're most appreciative and grateful for the additional money that we have been receiving from the state and the feds this year. We're all spending it, we're all using it, but the impact of COVID isn't going to be done in June. We're so fortunate here in LaSalle, and yet our teachers talk about how these, sixth graders haven't been in school for almost 2 years, and we have to get them acclimated again to attend school. The first graders are acting like kinders because they haven't been in school. And it's just taking longer to just get everyone on the whole bandwagon and then learning and in the routine and everything. And this is in a highly functioning school district. And when you have school districts that have many more challenges or aren't able to meet those challenges and give supports for them, this is something that most board members really think is going to take years. And they're very afraid when the money goes away that, they're not going to have the support staff to pull the kids out, to give them a specified dose of reading and math and have the tutoring in the middle school and the high school. So what I thought was really great about that is it really gave direction to the statewide organization where they really need to push things. That and the fact that we were all kind of upset about the lack of local control. Since I have been on the board, it gets eaten away. And obviously, during an emergency pandemic situation, I should not be making health decisions. That's not what I can do. I just don't have that information or the background. but it just really seems that more local control has been taken away from the school boards once again. And the need for subs, as you know, Dr. Fraser, is nationwide, not just statewide. So much for that information. I was also able to walk through Oak. I can't walk through as many schools that Chris does. I mean, he's putting us all to shame, so congratulations. But that was really great. The Heroes Lunch was wonderful. I was also able to attend our PTA council meeting. Both Scott and I usually show up for those, and I think I particularly love it because it really gives me a chance to see the parents, talk to them about what is happening on the school sites, what are their concerns and things like that. I find it to be a very valuable meeting. And I want to thank our students who spoke tonight. The number one fear in America is supposed to be public speaking. Those kids they just knocked it out of the park. I mean, they came into a crowded room and they spoke their mind. And I just want to thank them very much. Obviously, thank their parents too, who supported them in being able to come to speak to us. I also want to thank Diana for covering the meeting that I couldn't make, and I really appreciate that. My last thing that I want to do is just give a huge shout out to LAE and Lee for National Blue Ribbon. That is the icing on the cake. There are cycles when you can apply and when you can't apply, which is why we only have 2 this year, which is probably the most, I'm thinking, in the nation, since it's the most in Orange County. I just want to thank the administrators, the staff, the parents, the students. You don't become a nationally recognized blue ribbon school in a vacuum. It is something that is done with the entire community on the campuses. Our schools are recognized nationally and statewide because we all have our hands in the middle and we're all here for the kids. But a big shout out to LAE and Lee. That's it. Mr. Fayette?
My turn.
Your turn.
Thank you for those watching at home. Thank you for those that waited breathlessly. I know you stayed all this time just to hear me talk, especially Stan. I want to start off by saying, before I talk about myself, teaching is an incredibly difficult job. I taught for a second in terms of time compared to other people on the board. It is so difficult and hard, and it's been even harder this past year and a half with everything else that's going on. The students that came and spoke so eloquently and passionately. We talk about supporting our heroes when we went to the luncheon. Teachers are on that front line too. We need to support our teachers and our staff and our administration and our communities. It's really disheartening to hear the untruths and the slander. You can have a disagreement. You can not be in favor of someone. You may not even like them. But to use this recall as a forum to use character assassination of a teacher who is just trying to make an environment that is welcoming and inclusive and makes children feel safe, I find that disheartening that you are part of the community that I call home, that I am very proud of. And on to better stuff. I got to go to several schools. The schools are incredible. Joy is walking into a kindergarten classroom and watching those little faces light up. At Lee, I got the pleasure of talking to and watching Mr. Poppin, who, if you have not seen, I don't know if he has YouTube videos. He was a man at a young age of 16 up at Lake Hume at a camp, was roughhousing, as 16-year-old boys do, grabbed another boy, fell down, bent his spine. He was a quadriplegic, which means everything from the neck down didn't work. Through rehab and working very hard, he's able to use his hands somewhat. So he's in a wheelchair. He has some dexterity with his fingers and stuff after a long road of recovery. His message of never giving up and perseverance was inspirational, especially in these tough times. Everyone has suffered. Everyone has faced difficulties and challenges. And I look at what we faced, And I looked at what he faced. How can I complain? How can I give up with my trials that look trivial in comparison? What he went through. He played wheelchair rugby, which has got to be the closest thing. If you saw the movie Rollerball when you were a kid, that's what it was like. It is unbelievable. He went to Athens, got a bronze medal, the closest I will ever get to a medal again, except for a pie eating contest, I think. Super inspirational. The kids were so engaged. He brought wheelchairs. They went out on the playground. It was just so inspirational, and it was a fantastic thing, and I can't say enough. And he was at McGaw and Lee. Also, there was a young gentleman at LAE. Not only is it a blue ribbon school, and congratulations, 5th grader, a young man named Cooper. I was there for a flag ceremony. Awesome. It was so fun. Mr. Williams dressed up in the tiger costume, and it had to be about 100 degrees in that suit because he is just pouring buckets of sweat off him. Young man Cooper, riding his bike after school, sees an elderly person fall over and is laying in the street and can't get up. Struck their head and is bleeding profusely. Well, if you ever had a head wound, you know how that bleeds. He stopped, compressed the wound, put pressure on it, stayed with that person until the paramedics arrived. Cooper, you are my hero of the heart. I got to meet and talk with his dad. What a super nice man. The kid was just, it was such a genuine act of kindness. That child couldn't conceive of doing anything other than what he did. How many people would have just been, oh, I'm in a rush, I'm busy, I'm in a hurry. He didn't, and he couldn't even think, it didn't enter his head that he could do anything but what he did. That's the community that we have. That's the community that I am proud of. That is the community that we should all be fighting for. Music is something that I love. I am terrible at it. I can't dance, I can't sing. I am no triple threat, unless that's tripping, falling, and running into stuff. The new music teachers at McGaw and LAE are absolutely spectacular. I love music in elementary school. I still remember my music teacher. We focus a lot on reading and writing, which are incredibly important, and mathematics and all the other things, but you also need to develop the other side of that brain. And you need to have those drama and music. And to see those seeds planted in elementary school grow in middle school. My son was in the choir at McCullough for 3 years. My older son was in drama for a couple of years. And then you get to the high school, and the shows they put on are incredible. The music programs, the instrument programs, they took a beating in the COVID years because they couldn't play instruments. And it's really tough to capture a kid's heart and soul when you can't do what you love to do for a year. Over a year, they weren't able to perform. And these kids love it. I would be terrified to death to get up in front of sing and dance, and these kids love it. So just remember to support all the things. I am telling you, if you go to the high school choir show, which is coming up the 7th, 8th, and 9th, you will not regret it. It'll be a couple hours of your time that you will be like, that was well spent time. Go watch the drama show. Those kids are incredible. I still laugh about the show that the drama kids put on last year, Little Authors, Big Actors. It was hilarious. It was awesome. So there is a lot of joy and there is a lot of good going on in the district. Take advantage of it. We are so fortunate to live where we are and have all the opportunities that we do. Sorry I rambled on, but I wanted to make sure that I touched on a lot of the joy that I get personally from being on the board and getting to, boy, they treat me really well when I go to schools. It's nice. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to the staff. Thank you to our teachers. Thank you for all of you that stayed and listened to my rambling spiel.
No, thank you, Scott. I'm taking off my mask now. I'm fully vaccinated and getting a booster on Friday. I committed to wearing masks as long as our children were wearing masks. But I am just going to speak now from a point of frustration in that board members are very limited in our capacities to express and give responses when we are in the room hearing all kinds of different perspectives and views. And so I'm going to take advantage of this few moments that I have to express how I feel about everything that has gone on. And I think, and if you listen to what my fellow board members said, then you have to wonder what kind of alternative universe are we living in where people are recalling board members in a district where there is so much productivity, support, love, and fighting spirit to overcome any kind of adversity from the pandemic, to meet the needs of every single child. It's an alternative universe to think that these three incredible human beings had to face that recall, and Diana and I only missed it because legally they can't recall us 6 months before we are up for re-election. So I'm going to take this moment in my communication to share just a little bit about how I feel, and I needed my mask off. Because and I'm going to preface it with there's a lot of American history in this because I'm an American history teacher, and my love of this country has been questioned. My father was in Saipan fighting World War II. He spent his entire life serving this country, working for the government, giving heart and soul. My uncle flew missions over Japan. My whole family has been engaged in passion and love for this country as firefighters, teachers, in any way possible. And to question any one of our passions for this country is a complete misinterpretation and lie. So I'm speaking as a history teacher because we find ourselves deeply immersed in a fight to define what is best for our children and community. I would like to begin by referring to a writing I hold in my heart, the Declaration of Independence. In the 20-plus years I taught American history, my students read, analyzed, discussed, and wrote about the Declaration as one of the greatest living documents ever written. Living because it challenges every one of us to evolve and change so that more and more people can be embraced by the promise that all people are created equal, that they are endowed by their creators with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This powerful document goes on to say that governments, our school boards, governments are constructed to protect these rights, but when they fail, it is the right. No, Jefferson says, no, it is the duty of citizens to work peacefully to bring about change. I'm certain that most everyone in this room believes they are attempting, that was like the whole group, I'm imagining they're still here, believes that they are attempting to fulfill this duty, but I believe how you do it matters. For me, when students, parents, community members, and staff came together and stood up to say that our schools need to do a better job of providing a safe, healthy, inclusive learning environment that embraces every person, I took their requests seriously, as did our board and administration. I am so proud of every student who bravely stood up to give voice to their concerns, as many of our students did tonight. In those students, I see democracy working in its purest form. I do not contest that there are those who question or oppose decisions we've made, but can we all learn from our students who are sharing their stories without resorting to labeling and name-calling? Civil discourse is a challenge being faced in every meeting hall in our country, and the lack of it is poisoning the democratic process and our abilities to find common ground. I want to challenge our community to not assume labels and sound bites are true. Ask questions, as Diana, as other members have asked you to do. Listen to our answers with an open mind, and then feel free to ask more questions. Get to know us. Get to know us. For instance, did you know that Chris Forehand is a former assistant superintendent, principal, and teacher? He's a beloved grandpa in our community who reads to kids in classrooms on every elementary campus. Diana Hill has dedicated her life not only to this board, but to just about every organization that benefits the lives of families, schools, and communities. She has braved assaults from political organizations simply because she makes every decision based on what she believes is best for our district. Scott Fayette is the parent voice we so desperately need on our board. The experiences of his children inform him and encourage him to create the environment that best embraces every child. Meg Catulli's 5-term dedication to this district is incomprehensible to me. Not only does she make every decision for our district enhanced with the wisdom that comes with 20 years of service, but she is also an invaluable resource for what is happening in education at county, state, and national levels. These people are here with no other intention than to do what is best for every child we serve. As for myself, I fit none of the labels that have been stuck on me. I love this country. Ask any student I ever taught. It's been said that I want flags out of classrooms. As an American history teacher, there were flags to pledge allegiance to in every corner of my room. I told my students if anyone ever tried to outlaw the Pledge of Allegiance, I would mimic a tree hugger and chain myself to a flagpole. I've been labeled a God hater, yet I spent years serving alongside my sister, Mrs. Barnett, as advisors for the Christian Club on McCullough's campus. Every one of us here is here to do what is best for our children. We are here to serve this community. However, it is hard to respond to individuals who have no intention of hearing what we say. The school district will have to pay for the cost of these recalls. This is money out of classrooms meant for our kids. So rather than listening to inflammatory rhetoric and falsehoods from a small but vocal group, let's find a way to engage in meaningful conversation. I challenge every voter in this community to go to the polls being just as informed about school board members as they are about the office of the President of the United States, because what we do matters. And if you listen to what everyone has said tonight, what we do has served our community to the best of our abilities with our hearts and our souls dedicated to children. I realize that ending with that probably is not like on the most upbeat level, but I am so frustrated by the inability to speak to people who keep giving misinformation. We are not teaching critical race theory. I know history, American history backwards and forwards. My students know American history backwards and forwards. They took a 100-question test on the Constitution. I'm wondering if all those people who question our patriotism could pass the same test that my 8th graders took. I want people to ask questions. I want to be challenged, but I also want people to hear what we have to say. And then finally, I really want to thank our local press. I really want to thank our local press. I have lived here since I was in 2nd grade at Rossmore School, and the local newspapers have never been what they are today. You tell the story, you project both sides, you're honest and non-biased, and you work to find the truth. So to that, I thank you with all my heart, because you are the truth tellers we need in our community. So with that, I'm going to call an end to the meeting and say thank you to all of those who gave their time tonight to speak their truths. Good night.